Okay, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. I'm just going to talk, and I'll be holding the iPad myself here. But this is the insight on this lab called "How Does Temperature Affect Viscosity?" So this is our basic setup, and I'm going to try to show you here some of the tools that we're going to be using and the basic setup. And this will really be helpful when you're writing your procedure. Okay, so here's some of the basic items that you're going to have at your table. You'll have a timer or a stopwatch. This red device here is a timer. It's got seconds on it. And as you can see, we're going to have, you'll need a funnel. You need a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. Probably a couple new items here. One is this ring. It's literally called a ring. And then what it's on, this stand here, is called a retort stand. So this is a retort stand with the ring attached to it. Now every group is going to get a cup that I've already pre-made for you. It's a plastic cup, and then there's a small opening in the bottom of the cup for our fluid, in this case vegetable oil, to flow through. There's a spare graduated cylinder, and then another beaker that you're going to need for getting your samples of oil. Around the room, you'll see that there are 6 different temperatures of oil. For example, here's oil that will be brought underneath the freezing point. We'll use a mixture of salt and ice to get that oil down below 0 degrees Celsius. There'll be oil in an ice water bath, so it'll be really close to 0 degrees Celsius. Room temperature oil, so probably right around 20 to 22 degrees, depending on what it's like in the classroom that day. And then way over here will be the danger zone. This is where we'll be heating up oil. So you can see here we'll have some oil heated up to 40 degrees, 60 degrees, and probably just under 80 degrees Celsius. When you work in this area here, before you get your sample, you will call me over. So you'll have the learning manager will pour the oil out for you. Now, this does not have to be exactly measured. So the amount of oil you're going to get each time is 60 milliliters. We want to have a little bit more oil than we're actually going to measure because that will reduce one of the variables. As the oil runs out, if there's a small volume left behind, it tends to affect how fast it runs out of the container. So we'll always get 60 milliliters. So you'll come over here, and then I will probably don some hot mitts, and I'll pour you a sample of the oil, and I'll give you about, hopefully, just over, whoops, that's about 100 milliliters, but for our video purposes, we'll run with it. So then we will not do any running in the classroom. So now we'll return back to our work area. And by the way, you're going to do this at least 6 trials, maybe 10 to 12. So lots of people will get the opportunity to do this. Now this next setup here is going to be really important. You'll have your cup here. And now even though, say this was the 40-degree temperature, you're going to put your finger here underneath and close up that opening, right? And I have no idea how I'm going to do this here with one hand on an iPad and one hand on the oil, so I'll probably just have to do this really quick and you'll get an idea of what's going to happen here. So here's a key part of the procedure. So I'm going to have to step back here to show you. So as you can see here now, I've got the special pouring cup set up in the ring that's attached to the retort stand. You can see they have a graduated 100 milliliter graduated cylinder and then a funnel. And the funnel's there just because sometimes the oil kind of walks around as it drains out. You want to make sure it all goes into the graduated cylinder. But the key move here is that every trial that everybody does is going to be until we get to the 50 milliliter mark, okay? So I'm not sure if that's visible here in the video, but there's 50 milliliters right there. So that's why it doesn't matter. You don't have to be exact with how much oil is in the container or how much you measure. But once you get going here, someone will start the timer. So our variables are going to be time and volume. So someone will say, ready, go. They'll start the timer right when the other person lets go with their finger and lets the oil begin to flow. And then someone's watching the graduated cylinder, and once the oil gets to 50 milliliters, they say stop, and you stop the time. And that's a trial. So the two variables, the independent variable thing that we're manipulating is the temperature of the oil So there'll be 6 different temperatures of oil. We as experimenters are manipulating that. So that's why it's the independent variable. This will be the first part of your hypothesis, by the way. And then the second thing that we're manipulating, or the second thing that we're measuring is the dependent variable. It depends on the independent variable. We have no idea what that's going to be, but the dependent variable is the time. Okay, so let's see, what's that going to look like? So for instance, you would pour all that oil in there, except that someone would have their finger over the opening right there. You'd make sure it's lined up with your graduated cylinder. Someone would be ready to see where the volume, to measure when the oil gets to 50 milliliters. Someone would be starting the timer. They'd say, ready, go. Finger off the opening. Oil is pouring out into the graduated cylinder. You can see as it's coming up and up and up. I'm not going to do the whole trial here with you, but you can imagine that once it gets up into this area here, it'll be about 50 milliliters. And actually at precisely 50 milliliters, you'll say stop, and you'll have some data to record. Hopefully you'll have enough time to get 2 trials in per each temperature range. Okay, that's it for this video.